Hello and welcome to the All Rookie Podcast. Today is February 24th, 2023, and I'm your host, William Harris, aka William is Bill. Great to be back with you today on another great episode of the All Rookie Podcast. Thanks for joining me. And on this episode, we're going to continue our Who Is series on our freshmen, our rookies. Freshmen. I'm thinking about the player we're about to talk about, who was a freshman in college and entered the draft, and that is Jalen Duren, the 6'11" big man for the Detroit Pistons. Very intriguing player. So let's get straight to it like there's nothing to it. Jalen Duren is still a teenager and the youngest player in the NBA, believe it or not, but he has the body of a 10-year-old. I did that last time too. Not a 10-year-old, a 10-year NBA vet. Definitely not a 10-year-old. At 19 years old, he's 6'11", 250 pounds. There was never a question if he would be physically able to survive in the NBA, but his game in college was a little raw, so there were some questions. At Memphis, he averaged 12 points, 8 boards, and 2 blocks per game. Nothing extraordinary, but he did have some incredible games, including a 19-point, 19-rebound game with 5 blocks in that same game as well. He was the AAC Freshman of the Year and my third-ranked center coming into this draft class. He ended up being selected 13th overall by the Charlotte Hornets. That's right, you heard me right, Charlotte Hornets. And then instantly traded to the New York Knicks. That's right, New York Knicks, if you didn't know that. And then to the Pistons. So it was a crazy day for Duren with all that movement, to say the least. He was drafted in front of Mark Williams, and like I said, drafted by the Hornets, then traded. So Hornets fans especially paid real close attention to how Jalen Duren was playing this season, especially early in the season when Mark Williams was not playing. And let's just say the Hornets fans were kind of regretting that pick instantly. But things are turning around, as the season progresses, things go on. But my scouting report on Jalen Duren before the season was, he had that 7'5" wingspan, huge for defense and blocking shots. But his game was pretty much all dunks and blocks. He was a rim runner. If you like Isaiah Jackson, you would like Jalen Duren. Great rebounder, but may need to work on his shot and post-up game. He's fast for a big man, runs the court well, has great athleticism, and has a great defensive presence. Had that huge game, like I mentioned earlier. He's a 62% free throw shooter, so that needs to improve. He can hit some jumpers, which he's still working on that as well. If he gets better, he could be great at the shot. He has great anticipation on steals. He's a good help defender, can stay with forwards, and switches to the rim. His weaknesses were he had no real post game, not really involved on the offensive end of the court. His dribbling and his touch all need to be improved. So, as you can see, those are some things that needed to be worked on. That's why, in my opinion, I had Mark Williams ranked higher than him. But the NBA loves that potential. They like to swing for the fences. They're looking for the Bam Adebayo. They don't want just a safe pick sometimes, especially when you're 18, 19 years old and you're already in the shape that Duren is in. It's like, wow, what can we do with this guy? Especially on a bad team like the Pistons. Like, we don't need him right now. Next 3, 4, 5 years, if we can turn him into Bam or young Dwight Howard, you got something. Now, Jalen Duren has played all but 10 games this year. And meanwhile, as we mentioned with Mark Williams, seemed to play the inverse of that. Duren left the Hornets fans instantly hating that trade, as Duren got a double-double in his first game in the NBA with 14 points, 10 boards, and 3 blocks in only 21 minutes in his debut. The NBA world was like, oh my, maybe he should have been a top 5 pick. 13 was too low for him. Like, he's going to dominate all year, especially on this team. But the Pistons said not so fast. Duren only averaged around 20 minutes per game for the first 2 months of the season. The Pistons limited his minutes by playing Isaiah Stewart over him, even though Stewart was not having near as much success as Duren. And not to mention, the whole team was horrible, going 7 wins and 22 losses in those first 2 months. Earlier than that, they were like 3 wins and 10 losses. So, there was no reason not to play Duren. Just about every game Duren plays over 25 minutes, he gets a double-double and has multiple blocks in those games as well. It took till December 14th till he finally played a game over 30 minutes, and that was 36 to be exact. and he had a career high with 19 rebounds. That is all-star, amazing caliber rebounds, for a teenager, youngest player in the NBA, and he had 3 blocks in that same game. And I mean, he barely did that in college, and this is his first game of real minutes in the NBA. Boom. For the next 2 weeks, Jalen Duren averaged about 32 minutes per game and had multiple double-doubles. Things seemed like they were going great, but then I had a little nagging injury where he missed 5 games. When he returned, all things were not bad, though, because he had his best game of the season overall with a 23-point, 15 rebound, 2 block performance against Giannis and his Bucks. On February 10th, he had his career high in points with a 30-point game, 17 rebound game, and 4 block game. That turned into his best game of the year. So, I mean, as the season goes along, you just see he keeps progressing with the minutes, the experience, the game-like. But, I mean, 30 points, 17 boards, and 4 blocks, that is Shaq-like. That's a performance for the ages. And this is, like I said, youngest player in the NBA. I'm going to keep harping on that because the Pistons have something special here. This is a glimpse into what the Pistons are hoping for in the future with Duren. Obviously, he's not going to be Shaq, but the potential to be a dominant franchise center is looking better and better every day. He currently has that ankle injury, which caused him to miss the All-Star festivities. But like I said, his future is very bright. So far this season, he's averaging 8.5 points, 8.5 boards, and 1 block per game. But if those minutes remain around 25 to 30 or increase, those numbers, those stats that he has right now should definitely increase. He could be averaging 10 and 10 by the end of the year, but we'll see how things play. And if they don't, they could play it easy this year. Next year, I think you can look out. He might be 14 and 10 next year or so, or better. For his game, I don't have too many critiques on his game. He just needs to work on expanding his range, his touch, and free throws. But, as young as he is, I'm not worried at all. Neither should you. The Pistons did make a recent transaction at the deadline, which brought in James Wiseman, former number 2 pick overall center from the Warriors. Now, he's going to compete with Duren for minutes. He has been so far. They've been kind of trying to equal out their minutes. So that could throw a little wrench in things, but the Pistons are smart. I think they know who their franchise guy should be. Wiseman was thought of as a franchise center until he completely washed out in Golden State. But in his first game in Detroit, he looked really good. So it could be very interesting. Those minutes could be split, especially down the rest of this season. For some reason, if they want to rest or protect Duren, I don't know. They just brought him back recently for a game. He couldn't really perform up to his standard. And the coach said, I think his ankle is still bothering him. So look for Wiseman to get his full opportunity to display if he's going to be with this team next year, if he can be the guy that he was drafted to be. But my money is on Jalen Duren, young future franchise center. Keep your eye out on him. This Pistons team is going to be good in the future. They have some cornerstone pieces, in my opinion, with Jaden Ivey, Cade Cunningham, and now Jalen Duren. I wish I would have kept Sadiq Bey, but they're going to get some more pieces in there. They're going to have a top pick in this year's draft as well. But Jalen Duren, another rookie to look out for. Thank you all so much for listening to the All Rookie Podcast. Follow me on Twitter at William is Bill. And subscribe to the All Rookie Podcast on all platforms, including YouTube. Until next time, I'm out of here. Peace.